Namaste everyone. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. This is Kushalmehra. So we were going to do the cricket podcast actually next week on the 12th, that is Wednesday. But then what happened was so much happened in the first two test match that we were like, Are nahi, we have to kind of speak about it immediately because Johnny Bairstow happened. What a wonderful innings by Ben Stokes, so many things. So I reached out to Aadit. I told him, Chalo, let us talk now. So welcome, Aadit.
Hello, Kushal. What a crazy day. Uh, Actually, next week when we would have started, we would have conflicted with the first test match of India West Indies. So this gives us a good time to preview that series as well. So it kind of works out well that we planned it this way. And previewing the third Ashes test, but what a wild couple of weeks. My God.
Insane.
This has probably been one of the most entertaining Ashes I've seen. And Kushal, I'm going to sound a little like a sore thumb here, but I like that there is some rivalry going on. ये बहुत भाईचारा हो रहा था international tournament में where all of them are playing franchise cricket. So the players are giving it back to each other. That's fine. Some rivalries deserve this kind of aggression on the field.
Absolutely. I see. This is why when Ollie Robinson said, "Oh, why did you swear at Usman Khwaja when you got him out after he scored that big 100 in the first test?" He's like, "This is the Ashes. If you can't handle it, you get out of the room." And I like it. I like the
Exactly.
idea of playing cricket like this. I don't know. And Australia has changed, right? In the last 2 years, under Pat Cummins, Australia is like after Sandpaper Gate. Basically, it started with Sandpaper Gate, and then they had that wicket keeper. Tim, क्या नाम था उसका? Tim Payne.
Team pain. Hmm.
Tim Payne. So with Tim Payne, they had decided we're going to correct our image. We are going to be the good boys of world cricket, and then after that, now under Pat Cummins, they are continuing their good boy image. It's very weird to see an Australian team trying to be good boys. It's just weird, and everybody else giving it to them left, right, and center. It all works well for the Aussies till they keep winning.
True.
And they lost in India and they lost to India in Australia. Outside of that, nobody else has been able to beat them
True.
particularly. So right now they can say, well, look, you don't need to be aggressive. I don't know about that, but we'll see. To the people who are criticizing the idea of, everybody going and saying this to Australia, that to Australia, ye ho raha hai, wo ho raha hai, and why are the Australians doing it? So what do you make of this entire business of aggression being bad for the sport in general?
It's a pathetic argument that aggression is bad for the sport in general. Uh, Aggression, where it crosses a line, where it becomes racist, where it becomes personal, where it becomes bad, that is obviously bad for the sport. That is a horrible line. But when it comes to giving it on the field and giving you 120%, if aggression was bad for the sport, then Virat Kohli wouldn't be one of our best batsmen ever, because I enjoy the aggression. I mean, the fact is that that game we talk about where India bowled out, I think, was it Lords? I forget the stadium, or Trent Bridge. But basically, in England, we bowled out, I think it was Lords, right? We bowled out England in 60 overs. And Virat Kohli comes and says, "Give him hell, boys." He's like, what are they going to say? Apologize for aggressing? No. What Virat Kohli was trying to tell Bumrah and Shami and Siraj was, be fair, play within the spirit of the game, but give it back. And that includes getting under the skin. I don't agree with the Australian strategy was in the early 2000s, in late 2000s, where they got extremely personal with every other team. But the minute the team gave it back, the Australians would start whining and whinging and all sorts of things with that. You had multiple situations with McGrath getting into trouble with Ramnaresh Sarwan and Shivnarayan Chandrapur in that Antigua test. The whole Harbhajan Singh, Andrew Simon situation. I mean, there are so
Mhm.
many situations like that. But if there, I think Tony Gregg at that time said Arjuna Ranatunga had this strategy that switched the mics up. Uh, if you turn up the stump mics, people are not going to say personal stuff because they know the mics are hot wired. But you know, there is going to be a little bit of aggression, and some of it is fair game. I think what Rishabh Pant does behind the stumps is wonderful. I think you
That
give it
is Rishabh Pant is
so
the
good.
you have given the best example possible of funny sledging. मतलब ऋषभ पंत इज लाइक रेडियो एंकर, उसको तो सुनने को मजा आता है.
Yeah, I mean, I read somewhere there was someone sledging an all-rounder that what kind of an all-rounder your bowling average is greater than your batting average. I mean, that's hilarious. Like that's that's excellent. So I mean, those sledges are fun. So I mean, if those happens, and I mean, let's face it, Kushal, when we were in school, when we were playing cricket, ये banter उतना तो school cricket में भी होता था, right? And I
We
haven't
did it यार, हम लोग करते थे एक दूसरे की लेना, तो मतलब
exactly.
this is the essence of sport, एक दूसरे की लेना.
Right, and this is not. I mean, I haven't read interviews of say Mithali Raj or someone, Alyssa Healy or something. But if you ask them if
The
women cricket is
girls
now,
also do it.
they
The
just
girls also do it when they play sport. It is very
exactly.
natural,
That's what I'm
yaar.
saying. It's
Your
yeah.
adrenaline is high. Your testosterone levels are at their peak. You're going to say
Yeah,
these
so
things. That's the best part.
that's the best part. The only thing is be respectful, don't get personal, right? And that's the thing. But so it's good that we're seeing this in the Ashes, and it's and let's face it, the level of cricket played in the last two test matches is absolutely high quality, and they were very close. Any side could have won it, the other way. But I'll tell you a funny thing about Pat Cummins. So Pat Cummins, I mean, he's a great captain, great bowler. But they did say that Justin Langer was the coach, right? So Justin Langer is to Australia was what Gautam Gambhir is to Lucknow Super Giants, right? That aggressive thing. And I think the reason why Cummins and the players didn't get along was sometimes the coach was more aggressive than the players. Like we joked about in the IPL podcast, that in LSG, Gautam Gambhir was the most aggressive player on the sidelines. Right? That's not to say that the others were not, but it was not the Aussie way, right? The Alan Border way. And these Aussie way, when did it start? It started with Alan Border. He was called Captain Grumpy because he's like, Australians are not winning anything. We gotta, buck it up and give it back to them, and they did. So I think that's pretty much what it is. But I think it's disingenuous to think that when players are giving their 110% for the country, sparks are not going to fly. They will fly, and when there is so much at stake, it will happen. But of course, then the spirit of cricket debate, and we'll go there. We'll talk about that at the end of the
हम
second test.
second test
Oh,
match के बारे में let's first talk about
correct.
the first test match now, Adit. So first test match, obviously, um, I have to start asking your views on the first question itself. I was so angry. तेरे को याद है मैंने तेरे को WhatsApp भी किया था. I was like, why did he declare?
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know why did he declare. Maybe he wanted to try. This is the stupidest thing I've heard. So I love the fact that Jeff Boycott summed it up the best. Jeffrey Boycott was on a podcast with Michael Vaughan and Phil Tufner, and he was asked that about what do you think about basketball? He's like, I love the fact that it's so entertaining, but the only purpose is not entertainment and unpredictability. He's
It's
like, if you love
stupid at
entertainment,
times. It's stupid. वो बोलता है.
no. He said that if you love entertainment so much, go join a circus. Don't play cricket. That's what he said, and I sort of agree. So Joe Root was playing out of his life. I mean, he was playing so good that you remember that century that Virat Kohli hit at Edgbaston, the two centuries, and one of the centuries where
Yes.
he essentially just played with the tail and went up to 140 or something. I
Yeah.
thought Joe Root was in that mode that he could get. And Ollie Robinson, by the way, who's no muck with the bat, was 15 of 31. So Ollie Robinson was playing very well too.
Yes.
So I thought they would at least get like 420 or 430. I understand that they didn't want to make Jimmy Anderson bad, with his age and so forth. And basically, he wanted to take precautions. He said, I don't want to see Jimmy Anderson bad. That's fine. Declare it 430 for 9 or 435 for 9, or tell Joe Root to farm the strike. But the fact is, you cannot you had Australia on the mat at that point. You
Absolutely.
cannot just leave the
And their
pressure.
confidence was
393,
shattered. Confidence
it
was
was
shattered.
shattered. 393 for 8 on the. So here is the thing. Everyone, like so many people, you and I know, we have talked to us, have tagged us since the first test, asking our opinions on Bazball and what do we think, right? My thing is, Bazball works if it's done in a proper way where strategic thinking is not abandoned for just aggressive stroke play. Baseball is not just about aggressive stroke play. You also have to think strategically. And that day, you had a chance. Basically, there were only 4 or 5 overs remaining in the day, 7, 8 at most, because you count 2 overs for the change of innings. if England gets about 30-40 runs, and the next day in the morning conditions when the ball is still swinging a little bit, right, you still have that thing. I am just saying the 5 overs in the night aren't that important as 40-45 runs in a test match are,
So the
if the
counter to
wicket is
that
what it
was,
is.
so let me give you the counter argument that I heard some people give on television, on
Mhm.
social media, to that was that because they declared that match could have a result because it saved time, as there was rain ahead in the match. But the problem
That's
with that
silly.
is you can't plan a test match based on weather conditions.
Yes, and that's silly to think of it that way, because then you never know what might happen in the last day. You never know how England would have approached the third innings. And if you had gotten that extra 40-50 runs, could you have gotten more put more pressure on the Aussies and they would have batted differently? You never know. You can only be, you can only comment on the cards you're dealt with. And the fact is, let's assume you have to look at the first innings like how the irrespective of what might happen. If the weather forecast says rain for 3 days, so be it. You put your side in a position where they cannot lose or where they have the best chance of winning. And I don't think 393 for 8 was the best chance of winning, given the position they were in. Now, granted, if they were 40 for 5, I would have, if I was an England fan, I would have taken 393. But you have to play it by the situation. And the fact is that they could have gotten to 450. So yes, it was an interesting call. It was an aggressive call, yes. But the fact is, the wicket wasn't doing much. The wicket was spinning, and let's be real here. The real person. There were two people that were missing in the England bowling lineup. One is a gentleman called Mark Wood, because of his pace and stuff. The other is a frontline spinner. Yes, Moeen Ali got wickets, but Moeen Ali also bowls a lot of four balls. And unless the wicket is turning absolutely square, Moeen Ali is like a Ravindra Jadeja type bowler, right? Like, he's a great bowler, spins the ball, but Ravindra Jadeja will not be a the frontline spinner. A fact that we've repeated on this podcast ad nauseum, that in the whole Ashwin Jadeja debate. So I don't want to go back there. So Jack Leach is who they were missing. But what Kushal said the last podcast, I don't know why they didn't bring Rehan Ahmed, because Rehan Ahmed is on the balcony waiting. And rather than just, if Bazball is all about aggressive and out of the box thinking, bring that young spinner who took wickets in Pakistan. No? Why are you going with the safe option of Moeen Ali? And we had this discussion where Kushal rightly pointed out. I was thinking maybe Moeen Ali is out of the box, but Kushal was saying no, it's a safe choice, and I agree. In the hindsight, it is a safe choice.
I think you raised a very important point which nobody wants to talk about. One of the biggest reasons England is two down, and people don't want to accept that, uh, is that it's not the English batting that has failed them. To be very honest, I think England has batted all right. They've managed to score runs at par or almost par almost all the time. The story of the two test matches for me, the first test match also, just look at the entire test match. England was on top most of the match until Pat Cummins pulled the rabbit out of the hat and got them home. But the point is, what did England miss the most, even in the crunch situations, every time? They just don't have a quick bowler.
Yes, absolutely. In case you're wondering, that's just a nice England picture, ground picture I found. I'd forgotten to apply that virtual screen, so to get in the spirit and the mood of the game that I found. So I was like, "Itni mehnat se dhunda hai, to might as well apply it for a little
Look,
bit." But no, you're right.
Anderson
England didn't
has
have
not
one.
bowled well in two test matches now.
No, he was
He's
dropped.
been
He's
rested
dropped
for the
for.
third test match. He's rested, not dropped.
Rested, हाँ. वो मतलब rested. See, England में भी ऐसा होता है कि senior players को they don't drop, they only rest them. so he has been rested, but the fact is he was looking ineffective, and he said something about if the ball is not doing anything, if it's not swinging, I can't be as effective or something. He made a statement to that effect. I don't know. Do you? Does that put into perspective all the wickets he's taken in English swinging conditions?
I don't know. I mean, it does. Imagine Ravichandran Ashwin saying, "If you don't give me spinning wickets, how the hell do you expect me to take wickets?"
Unfortunately, Ravichandran Ashwin is not saying that, but certain other people in the Indian team management are saying that. But if the wicket is not spinning, we will not play Ashwin.
A
But
former
so
coach and
that's
captain. A former coach and captain.
exactly. So that's the unfortunate reality of our times. But no, the problem with England is the sameness of the attack. Anderson, Robinson, and Stuart Broad, they all bowl on the same pace. They all bowl at the same pace, and that just wasn't working out. So this tells me that there was a safety first approach in the hope that there's going to be a swinging wicket. But guess what? For Bazball to work, these guys were talking about having a what you may call having a flatter wicket, having a place where they can play the shots through the line. But I want to ask another question, Kushal. We talk about the first innings. Let's talk about the second innings. Why was Joe Root out stumped? Like, what kind of a shot was that? Like I agree again going for the aggression or something. So Jeffrey Burkett and he's like I refuse to call it stumped. He's like I call it run out. He's like I think Jordan was run out. He was so far down the wicket, right? And unfortunately, Nathan Lyon might not be able to take a part in the series again. But how good did he bowl? 18 wickets, 18 English wickets fell in the test match, 8 in the first, 10 in the second. Nathan Lyon picked up 8 of them. How good was Lyon?
Excellent.
Yeah. So, I mean, unfortunately, we won't see him gross 500 wickets this series. I mean, I hope for his sake that he comes back, but I just doubt it given the injury and the way he was hobbling around the field. But so that is the unfortunate reality. That is the unfortunate reality in the Ashes. But a word about the Australian batting lineup. Right. So when we talk about the Australian, and by the way, Kushal, before I forget, a lot of people have written this to us as well. We should talk a little bit about the World Cup qualifiers at the end
Yeah,
after
we
we're done
will.
talking about the
We will
Ashes. Yes,
after the Ashes.
after the Ashes, yes, because Test cricket always comes first. So then let's talk about Australia. Australia was dismissed. Australia responded back quite stunningly. They were pinned down at 67 for 3, but then Travis Head, in Travis Head style, launched a ferocious counter attack. And against Travis Head, they made the same mistake as India did in the first Test match, where they didn't deploy the bouncer too effectively, and they also didn't have a frontline spinner. So the two things that Travis Head cannot play well is good spin and good short pitch bowling. And the problem with the English bowling lineup is if you bowl short pitches at 130 or 125, they're going to be absolutely smacked all around the park. So Travis Head, Cam Green, Alex Carey, and Pat Cummins, they all launch a counter attack. And Usman Khwaja, my God, that man just played the innings of his life. He scored 140. He was, mind you, he was bowled off a no ball. Stuart Broad bowled him off a no ball when he crossed 100, and then he added 40 more. But at 372 for 6, I thought Australia is going to take a lead. But then, the series has all been about twists and turns. England made a comeback and bowled out Australia for 386 with a 7-run lead. But then comes the bizarre. So, I mean, I don't know, Kushal, what do you think about Khwaja, and what do you think about Moeen Ali bowled 33 overs and pretty much wrecked his hand? Like, he couldn't grip the ball properly in the fourth innings.
First of all, I was not happy about the idea of selecting Moeen Ali for the first test. तुझे याद है मैंने तो बोला था I don't understand what they're
Hmm.
doing. They should have played that
Hmm.
other young leg spinner, and if not, just go with 4 fast bowlers. If England does not have a good spinner, England should not play 4 fast bowlers, and they should just should not play a spinner and just go with the pace attack. They should have played Mark Wood in that case, but they don't. In fact, what they are missing in this entire series is that one extra pace bowler that can rattle the tail and finish off the tail immediately. And that has been their story in the first test. They would have won the first test. Now that catch that Ben Stokes dropped, yeah, that catch was very hard to get. वो catch को तो मैं catch नहीं गिनूंगा. But
Yeah.
overall, the story of this series for me has been that England just does not have the required bowling resources if they don't make swinging wickets. They need pace. They don't have. Look, Josh Tongue, the moment he came in the second test side, he was so effective because he had pace. He was bowling 85 miles an hour. just the difference of 6 to 7 miles an hour from a 78, 79 average speed bowler to a 84 to 86 average speed bowler. You saw the result change. Josh Tongue was
Yes.
way more penetrative. James Anderson is just not firing right now. They have to change the wickets to suit him. Stuart Broad is doing fine. He's picking wickets.
But Stuart Broad is also, I mean, he's doing the old fashioned conventional way, keeping the line and length and just bowling beautifully. And that will get you wickets because the Duke's ball does a lot more than other like a Kookaburra or an SG or stuff. The biggest issue that we have here is with England is in the second innings. That's what they lack, that additional wicket. Why? I mean, Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon, kudos to them for playing out of their skins. But they were 227 for 8. They needed close to 60 runs, right? And they got him. They caught him with no real fuss or something. Yes, that catch was dropped. That was a very tough chance. But what were they doing, England, giving singles to Pat Cummins and trying to basically, you know, basically trying to get get him out, Nathan Lyons out. Why not target, go for Pat Cummins as well? He's also a number 8. I agree that he's not a he's not as of a muck as maybe Josh Hazelwood is, but at least go have a shot at him. And they couldn't because they didn't have that pace. So they had Ollie Robinson, James Anderson, and Stuart Broad doing. So I think that's just silly, the strategy.
Yes, it makes no sense. And that has been the story of the test matches for me, that they just
Mhm.
they just lack that penetration. To me, that has been a problem for me throughout the series, and I don't know what to do about it.
I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. Sorry, I was just adjusting my mic right here. I'll tell you something. The two things that the England can fix: get a frontline spinner, get a spinner that is more aggressive than Moeen Ali. That rips the ball, floats the ball up. If they're
But they
going to
don't
pick up
have it,
wickets like
na,
this,
Adit. Yही तो problem है. They
no,
don't
I
have a
think
spinner in
Rehan.
the entire English
No,
roster.
I think Rehan Ahmed hai. I saw him on the squad in the second test. He was there at the balcony. I just don't understand why he wasn't playing. Because if you're going to have flat batting wickets that are going to take a lot of turn, you should have people like Rehan Ahmed playing. Second thing is they've rectified the other problem. Chris Wokes probably is a more effective bowler than James Anderson right now in English conditions. Chris Wokes is not the same bowler outside of England, but in England he's a phenomenal bowler, so they brought him back. He can also bat. And they got Mark Wood. Mark Wood can also bat. So now in the English tail, Stuart Broad comes in at number 10. And to give you perspective, in the second test match, Stuart Broad came in at number 8. So that is the difference, right? So if you have Chris, and Moeen Ali comes in at 7, so you have a longish sort of batting lineup, which so gives you more time to do the whole Bazball thing if you really want. But then you also have the attack for the conditions, and having a Moeen Ali is still better than having an all-pace attack. But
Do they
let's
get Sam Curran in?
let's no. Sam Curran will not be effective at all. He'll just be like James Anderson. So I think Chris Wokes is the right call for now. But I want to talk a little bit about the second innings, Kushal. So I think England had a chance probably to again press. Had they not been so reckless in the second innings, they could have probably set Australia a target of 300 or so forth in the thing, which would have been 300, 320 would have been a far bigger psychological target than the 282. Somehow that number 3 does weird sort of things to brains of people, so when it's a 300 plus target. But 282 wasn't that big of a target, given the fact that it wasn't. England bowled their hearts out for a few part of the second innings, and they got them to 143 for 5, and then Cam Green scores a little bit small partnership, and they get to 192 for 6. That is where the match was decided. Now they needed less than 100 runs, and then basically Alex Carey and Usman Khwaja were batting. Ben Stokes, the champion that he is, brings himself back on and gets Khwaja and keeps Joe Root on. By the way, Joe Root picked up 2 wickets because Moeen Ali could not grip the ball as well in the second innings, and but then Joe Root also gets hit for 2 sixes. Then Ben Stokes makes a controversial call by not taking the new ball very early or like I think they could have taken it like 4 or 5 overs before they actually took it, and he did not give the ball to James Anderson. Even though James Anderson wasn't looking himself, I think he's still your champion bowler with a new ball. Should he have tried him out for at least 1 over to see if he can pitch the ball up and swing it and cause any damage to the Australian batters?
He was not bold even yeah, he was not bold at all, and even the commentators at that time, I remember, were finding it absurd that, array, what is happening? Why isn't James Anderson not being given at least 1 over at least? And they didn't try him till the end. It was just Stuart Broad, Ollie Robinson, Stuart Broad, Ollie Robinson, Stuart Broad, Ollie Robinson. And
Yeah, and
one
on the
question I
Australians,
had for you, one more question I had for
okay.
you.
Hmm.
Has the
Hmm.
Australian short ball tactic really exposed Bazball?
Absolutely. There are two things that baseball does not work right now well with. It's short ball tactics and quality spinning. But why has Australian short ball exposed baseball? It has, because baseball isn't, like I said, test match cricket, you can't just play at 10 runs an over. Like they were already going at 4 or 5 runs an over every over. So they short balls, the bowler cannot bowl more than 4 or 5 overs of short pitch bowling. Um, because it's humanly impossible to keep bending your back and keep the energy. You have to conserve your energy, so it was always going to be short burst. The issue was the Harry Brooks of this world, the Ben Ducketts they couldn't resist but keep hooking, or trying to ramp the shot or playing bad shot. Now, if you get a great ball like Joe Root gets in the second Test match by Pat Cummins, it's just a great ball. You can't do anything about it. That it happens. It's Test match cricket. They're champions. But if they're bowling short balls outside off stump or on the head, and you just keep hooking rather than ducking out of the way and letting them bowl other deliveries, then the fault lies with that. So the baseball got exposed for its impatience and its refusal to adapt when a team does anything other than pitch up the ball. It seems like baseball is only a technique for when a team bowls your conventional length, a little bit of short, or pitch it up or full. The minute a team goes completely short, they just don't know that they can actually hold back. And Ben Stokes gave a fabulous example of it. Ben Stokes held back in the second Test match in the second innings for a long time. He did not play aggressive shots, and my God, then he launched into one of the most ferocious attacks I've ever seen on a field. It was
My goodness. And
brilliant.
I mean, he has this uncanny way of batting, but that's his style of batting. Agar tune notice kiya na, he always does this. He stays silent in the first few minutes or so, like 30, 40 minutes, and then something happens. The beast is unleashed, and he just goes kind of crazy, and then he just starts whacking everything. And once he starts whacking everything, all hell breaks loose. I mean, that 100 is one of the finest you'll see. Unfortunately, he couldn't pull out
Yeah, rabbit out of the hat
yeah,
that
he
day.
couldn't pull out a Headingley.
But
He couldn't do the Headingley again. But I still think, Australia is up 2-0. It is not all doom and gloom for England. England should have won the first Test match. They lost it due
I
to
think
their own mistake.
England could have won either of the Test matches. The second Test match, they did not have a good bowling attack. Four fast bowlers was not the way to go on this pitch. Australia got unlucky that Nathan Lyon was hurt, but guess what? Travis Head was there. Travis Head picks up wickets in the second innings. So he did pick up wickets in the second innings, and they also had the services of Man Zabushe. Australia is one of the only conventional attacks this time in the world cricket where people in the top 4 or top 5 can bowl. Two of the best batters of Australia, three of the best batters, Labuschagne, Smith, and Head, can all bowl. It was similar to when India was doing. Three of our best batters, Virender Sehwag, Saurav Ganguly, and Sachin Tendulkar, could all bowl. That's what made India, even though we did not have a phenomenal fast bowling attack beyond two fast bowlers, we didn't have that good three bowlers, we had enough people to make up for it, and that's why we outperformed. If right now India in Indian Test bowling lineup, if I hope if they pick up Yashasvi Jaiswal, his bowling skills, because Jaiswal can bowl, I hope they actually hone in and we develop more part-time off spinners, leg spinners, or part-time, dibbly doubly medium pacers or something, because that helps. That really helps. And that's what helped Australia when Nathan Lyon was injured. but moving to the second test, Kushal, I think the unless you wanted to talk something about the first test, anything
No,
specific
second
you
test.
had to
Hey,
add?
let's go to talk about the second test.
The second test again, England puts Australia. I think England chose to bowl first, and England did not bowl well in the first innings. They just did not bowl well, and David Warner just went ballistic. He smashed 68, 66 of 88 balls on a gloomy Lords. I think there were conditions. Kevin Peterson was so angry. There's a clip floating around on Twitter. Do check it out if you can. He was absolutely livid about what the English strategy was in these conditions, and he's like, we were not bowling well, we were too short. I don't understand what was going on with that. So I think that was the situation with that. The second thing with which I think hurt Australia quite a bit, hurt England quite a bit, was the emergence of Stephen Smith. Stephen Smith again scores a brilliant century in the first innings, and I mean he was absolutely good. So now let's, given the situation, let's talk about Josh Tongue, right? So Josh Tongue, he's a new sort of bowler in the team. Out of the top four, Josh Tongue gets the top three, right? So
Yeah,
what you were saying, Kushal, his emergence changed it up for England. So let's
yeah,
sorry, go on. I meant to say something. Yeah.
yeah. No, no. So, in case people are wondering why has Adit's voice suddenly changed in this podcast, Adit had selected the wrong microphone. I
It
want
was
this
my
to be
fault.
on the record in this
Yes,
podcast
and that's what we're
that
trying to figure it out.
I'm like, why is Adit's voice sucking? We're chatting in the private chat. Adit, तेरी voice इतनी घटिया क्यों आ रही है? And now he just realized, oh, I selected the wrong microphone. Now you can make your point. I had to let the world know.
Yes, I know. This is all on me. हम लोग सोच रहे थे echo adjust कर रहे थे, gain adjust कर रहे थे, but we are back now. Okay, no, my point was 198 for three. Australia is on the ropes again. uh, the match is in the balance. If you get another wicket, right? Shane Warne had this way. If you had 2 for 20 from the situation you're in, you'll know which side is in front. So 193 becomes 218 for five if you get one or two wickets, or 218 for four. It's a balanced game. But then Travis Head does what he does. He comes and smashes the damn ball around, and there is no spinner. Again, the bouncer is not working for England the way it should have worked, and they just, they lose the advantage. And they were 316 for 3 when finally Travis had got out. How did he get out? Stumped, thanks to Joe Root. Joe Root got him out with his spin
I said,
bowling.
Travis Head
So
can't play spin at all.
yeah, he cannot play spin well. He just cannot if it spins. And then Cam Green
You
gets out in
remember
a
how he
freak
was
way.
like not able to play Ravindra Jadeja in the second innings
He was
at all?
not, exactly. So I mean, it's like a no-brainer. But England, they are completely harebrained in their approach to that. So, anyways, from 316 to three, England gets out to four. Australia gets out at 416. Again, England is in the game, and then Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett gave an excellent start. 90 for none. Zach Crawley, but again gets out stumped when they looked like they were never going to get out. But then England has a collapse for the ages. I cannot I cannot believe, engineered primarily by Mitchell Stark through some great short pitch bowling, or some great uncomfortable bowling for that. But can you explain this, Kushal? How do you go from 279 for 3 to 325 all out?
I mean, that's just one of those things, right? They have this brand of cricket that they go crash, boom, bang all the time, and sometimes it
Yeah.
works, sometimes it doesn't work. And I mean, that's the role of the dice. I won't hold that against them, because look, if you have played 11 test matches and won 10 out of 11 test matches or something of that sort, or 9 out of 11, then nobody's going to hold it against you. They went to New Zealand, they played fantastic cricket in New Zealand. they
Hmm.
they they've pretty much got played everyone and destroyed everyone till now, until the Aussies did. And it's not like the Aussies have waltzed over them, right? The Aussies
They
also
haven't.
have had a very hard time playing against them. So these
Hmm.
things matter. So I mean, they did collapse. But see, let us talk about the two controversies now. The first was the Mitchell Stark catch. By the way,
Hmm.
that was the right decision. FYI, I want to show
Absolutely.
everyone one thing that Ben Gardner um, uh, shared. This
Hmm.
was so. How is the precedent set for the
Hmm.
Mitchell Stark not out? FYI.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there was this particular dismissal of a New Zealand of a Bangladeshi batsman
Hmm.
on Kyle Jamieson ki bowling pe. So there was this dismissal. Just check it.
Ford, oh, how about that from Jamieson?
So see what happens
soft
here.
signal is here and it's
The
out.
soft signal was out, and see what happens. You see this? Just check, 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 check. Boom! Look at his hands. Look at his hands. Look at his hands.
Yep. Exactly that.
This is literally the same dismissal. And see what happens.
So I mean, I thought that was out too, but the problem is it is just way too
No.
ramshackled in favor of this.
So see
The
what
umpire.
happens here. Not out.
Controversy
not
here.
out.
Kyle
Yes,
Jamieson's
that's the
arms
whole
are
point.
up in the air.
It is not out. So there is a clear precedent as per the laws of the game. That was not out.
Hmm.
That is not out. So Mitchell Stark, when he put his hands like this, when he caught
Hmm.
it and went like this, that is not out. You have to grab
When
it
he, when
properly when you go down.
so okay, I take that, right, that maybe it was not, that is without interpretation, that Stark was the what Stark happened was not out, and what happened to Bairstow was out. So let's get this out, and we'll talk about the Bairstow dismissal again. Actually, we can talk about that because it was back to back, right? They both happened in the second innings. What I don't understand is, when the law is so subjective, right, at the interpretation of the umpires, uh, there are bound to have such 50-50 calls, right? But
Also,
I
just
thought,
now there is no such thing as the soft signal for these things, right? अभी soft signal हटा दिया है लोग ने, laws change कर दिए हैं ना.
हाँ, अब soft signal हटा दिया है, but there are ways to communicate. um, but it almost seemed less controversial than the Cam Green ones in the World Test Championship, to me at least. The Mitchell Stark one, the Cam Green one, looked a little more
Cam
dicey,
Green
but
की
then
दो
again,
finger नीचे थी. Adit, that was
हाँ,
also out. That was
yeah.
also out. I thought, but then I read the law. Bharat
Hmm.
Sundaresan actually did talk about it in detail, and he explained the
Hmm.
law of the game. The law
Hmm.
says Gill was out. If even two fingers are grounded under the ball,
Hmm.
the law says he's out.
the loss is he's out. Okay, so I think that was the thing. But regardless, I think the Aussies took it well. I mean, it's okay. They were the call went against them. They were not out jumping and crying and all sorts of going hoarse. What happened to Johnny Bairstow was after that was the most insane reaction ever. So I don't know if there is a clip that exists, Kushal, for people that don't know. But I mean, I guess everyone that logs into our podcast, they know, that about the cricket happenings of cricket. I think it was absolutely out. It was a schoolboy error from Johnny Bairstow. He stepped out of the wicket. It was not pleasant. As a captain, I don't know how I would have reacted. Maybe yes, maybe no, because in the heat of the moment, you do what you do. But he was out. Like, I don't understand what is this rubbish England spirit of the game. And I don't know, did you see a clip that's floating around that apparently Bairstow tried to do the same thing when England were bowling? He tried to run someone out and he was unsuccessful. So when you get out doing the same thing you were doing, you suddenly cry foul. And then, Jeff Boycott, who I was praising rightly so, was saying that, Australia should apologize, and the English press was up and down that how can they do it, and same old Aussies and always cheating and all sorts of things. I'm no great fan of Australia, but this was not cheating. This was just a smart
Point,
game awareness.
point by point rebuttal. First of all, Stuart Broad getting mad at anyone should be banned. Because look at what
Yes.
Stuart Broad did over here. Okay. This was England का एक पुराना मैच है. Look at
Yeah,
how
and turn the volume up. Turn the volume up if you can.
Not the best delivery, and he's still there, Stuart Broad. What's he standing there for? They've all appealed. It looked as if he just nicked it through the keeper.
he absolutely smashed the ball.
Speechless.
Let's not talk about spirit of the game.
Just walked up
Oh,
pitch.
by the way, and talking about spirit of it works both ways. The guy who's very enraged, Michael Clark,
He
5
did
years
the
ago
same
when
thing.
Anil Kumble was bowling, he nicked it to slip, and Anil Kumble had to appeal to Steve Buckner in that infamous Sydney Test. So Australians
Absolutely.
and Englishmen are like, and the reason I said turn the volume up because David Lloyd was on commentary, and when he nicked it, David Lloyd goes, "Oh my goodness me," because it literally was that kind of moment. He it came on the cover of the bat, and this guy is standing around. So, but I will give props to Stuart Broad for one thing. He's an entertainer. He knows how to get the
Oh, I
crowd
love
up.
Stuart
So,
Broad. He's so entertaining. But by the way,
so,
let us
so
show the entire Johnny Bairstow runout video for the benefit of our viewers. Like, this is what exactly happened, right? This is what happened over here. How is this not out? Can somebody explain this to me? How is this not out? Like, okay, let's play this video, okay?
It's another short ball. Oh, now this is going.
This is out. The ball was in play. That
yeah,
is
the ball was
clearly.
in play. Not even that. So there are rumors being floated that, oh, one of the umpires twitched and the umpires moved and things like that. I'm like, dude,
Hey,
whatever
क्या
the hell,
मतलब
the umpire
अंपायर
did
ने
not
ऐसे
say
किया,
over.
अंपायर ने ऐसे किया, क्या nonsense है यार.
The umpire started moving and stuff like that. I was like, the fact is, if England would have won this test match, the tone would have been totally different of the English press. Ye to they needed, they see. I always say that our Hindi channels get blamed for no reason when they say match ka mujrim. The match ka mujrim concept exists in England also. So they were looking for match ka mujrim and they found it in Alex Carey. And then you had the members of Lords and stuff shouting at Usman Khwaja and getting into thing with Englishmen as they were
Disgusting.
going down the long room and stuff. That was quite ridiculous. Again, a little bit of banter, I don't know, but if it got personal, absolutely not acceptable. The issue was, what happened was no doubt not just out, it was absolutely within the laws of the game, and the English fans cannot just say we accept the Mitchell Stark dismissal, the non-catch, and accept this and not accept this because this one suits us and this one doesn't. And what is that rubbish about Ben Stokes saying I would have withdrawn the appeal? If that is the case, why didn't he withdraw the boundary in the World Cup final that went
वो
off his
कहते
bat?
वही थे यार, ये सब बकवास बातें होती है. कम ऑन यार, ये सब क्या होता है? आदमी हीट ऑफ द मोमेंट में आदमी बड़ी बड़ी फिलोसफी झाड़ता है पे. वो कैसा मालूम है? देख, you know how that uncle you meet every time in India who says money isn't everything, beta. This is that kind of stuff. These are fluffy lines people say without meaning anything. They just say it, but they're not going to do it. What spirit of the
No.
game? Ravichandran Ashwin summed it up perfectly. Quote on his Twitter: "We must get one fact loud and clear. Quote: the keeper would never have a dip at the stumps from that far out in a test match unless he or his team have noticed the pattern of the batter leaving his crease after leaving a ball like Bairstow did. We must applaud the game smarts of the individuals rather than skewing it towards unfair play or spirit of the game." Then the great Rajdeep Sardesai says, "Sorry to bang on about this, but I do love the game. To my friend Ashwin Ravi, and all those who believe that Bairstow was fairly out, I have simple questions. Would you be happy if you were given out in that way? That's the real test. Do unto others what you would do to yourselves." Okay. And the best reply was by the great Ravichandran Ashwin. Ravi says to Rajdeep, "I would be disappointed, very disappointed, in fact, gutted with myself for getting out like that." Perfect. Nobody can beat
See,
Ravichandran Ashwin when it comes to
but I
retorts.
don't understand what the hell Rajdeep was trying to say. What do you mean getting out?
कुछ भी यार,
This is not
the
a.
spirit of the game. What nonsense is the spirit of the game? Is it in the law or not? Are they trying to say the law was designed by
Okay.
people who
By
were
the way,
evil?
but and before people think that Australians are paragons of virtue, I see no difference in what Alex
No.
Carey did and running out the non-strikers for backing up too far. I think it's the same
Yeah.
thing. You run out the
Yeah.
striker for backing up too far. You run out the non-striker for backing up too far. Simple. Like, why is it so unbelievable to know that could happen? The fact is, you are gaining to. And now the funniest thing was, some English folks on Twitter were saying, oh, running out the non-strikers is actually a better dismissal because there they are gaining the unfair advantage of 2 steps. Here Bairstow was not even trying to gain the unfair advantage. Boss, that's not how it works. If that is the case, then जो अगर hit wicket कोई होता है where accidentally the bat touches the stumps or something, where you were just trying to play a nice shot. Recall them also. This is silly. The spirit of the game cannot be how and there are videos floating how Colin de Grandhomme was given out the same way from Gully.
संगाकारा का डिसमिसल भूल
Sangakkara.
गया तू. एक
हाँ,
बांग्लादेशी बैट्समैन रन के लिए भाग रही नहीं थे, कुछ कर
नहीं
रहे थे,
नहीं
वो बॉल बाउंड्री
नहीं
के
नहीं
उधर
नहीं
चले गए.
न्यूजीलैंड के सामने and
Yeah.
I want to know who the New Zealand wicketkeeper at that was who ran out Kumar
Brendan
Sangakkara.
McCallum. Baz था.
Yes. Where is Brendan McCullum right now? I'm just curious. I just exactly my point, right? So will England take on their coach? So ये सब बकवास है because of its ashes. This is being really hyped up and so forth. But the fact is, this was well within the law. And the ridiculous talk about this decision takes away from one of the greatest test match innings I've ever seen played in a losing cause. This is, in my opinion, number two. Number one is Sachin Tendulkar at Chepauk against Pakistan, that 136 that he played. And number two was Ben Stokes. Ironically enough, both got out trying to be aggressive and trying to play one shot too many. In Sachin's case, so he was so close to the target and our tail was absolutely useless at that time. We actually did have 3 number 11s because they couldn't get 17 runs, 3 of them put together. In fact, they could only get 5 when 17 were required. But Ben Stokes showed the hitting. I mean, Australia has 9 fielders on the boundary, the maximum possible fielders, and he cleared the boundary with that 9 times. There was an over when he went from, I think, 84 or 86 to 100 with 3 back-to-back sixes against Cam Green and smashed him for 24 runs and over. What clean hitting, man. It was some of the best hitting. It was clever. It was ingenious. It was not just taking stupid risks. Yes, he got lucky with Steve Smith dropping a catch. Those sort of things happen when you have to play an innings like this with number, but he almost pulled off the impossible. But and how bad was the English batting lineup that Ben Stokes still scored up around half or more than half of what England actually managed eventually.
As far as the spirit of the game is concerned, I don't know how to say this, but it is a load of rubbish, that concept. The only thing that I care about when it comes to the spirit of the game is serious allegations and serious problems. People want to talk about a serious problem. There is a 300-page report that has been issued now by the Independent Commission for Equity in Cricket. Holding up a mirror to cricket, a report by Independent Commission for Equity in Cricket. That is the only thing that matters to me. Everything else is rubbish. This fictitious spirit of the game, that is all rubbish. And let me tell you, almost every recommendation that this commission is going to give, every board will say, ha. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to change. So let's get real. The spirit of the game is a stupid concept come up with which everybody comes up with whenever they want to justify or rationalize something they feel has been done to them that is unfair. The spirit of the game is as sasta and useless as any third class material that comes in your country that you don't like.
Yeah,
that's all
absolutely.
The spirit of the game is. It's a bunch of rubbish.
Someone tweeted to me, Sachin ki innings ki yaad mat dilao. We all start clutching our back just looking at remembering Sachin scoring at 136. But yeah, you're right. Spirit of the game is convenient. It's a bogey used. It's a very colonial bogey, Kushal. That the spirit of, I mean, I don't use this word lightly, but who sets the spirit of the game? The MCC, right? People forget International Cricket Council used to be called the Imperial Cricket Council, where England and Australia actually had a veto back in the, and this was not like many years ago. This was already 30-40 years ago. So all the Englishmen, waxing very eloquently about BCCI's controlling hold, not one of them condemn or bash their own MCC folks for having a veto in the board, that if unless and until, that's how they managed to hold the first 3 World Cups. But the question is that you cannot just use it and abuse it and then not expect to get called out for it. And then when you do get called out of it, you can't whine about it. So if they are saying the same old Aussies, pushing the line, I can say the same old Englishmen, whining still about something that when the third test match is about to start tomorrow.
Absolutely. I don't give a shit about it. So now two questions about the Ashes are there. So just
Hmm.
want to say GB, or I don't know what that expletive is. Before Bazball, they
Oh,
were.
Great Britain, maybe Great Britain. Oh, oh, that's probably the flag of Great Britain. That when you share, it's the flag isn't showing up.
I don't know. I guess it's saying they were shit before Bazball. They are shit now. Not just their openers, their batsmen are susceptible to swing. They cannot play like a number four. Their bowling attack is, I don't know, one
1D.
dimensional,
Yeah,
no fast bowlers. Well, they have probably right now, I would not agree with, in Joe Root, they have the best number four in the world. Let's get real.
yeah,
Currently,
yes.
I mean, he's better than Steve Smith on current form, Joe Root,
Oh,
on
no doubt
current
about
form,
it. No,
not overall,
no
on
doubt about
current
it.
form. So,
Correct.
that's okay. So, the
I
other
mean,
was
I
English
think,
style of.
he's also better than Virat Kohli in current form. Let's face it.
या डेफिनेटली क्या विराट यार क्या कर रहा है विराट तो 3 साल से ढूस बैठा हुआ है सो द
Huh.
अदर वाज इंग्लिश स्टाइल ऑफ exotics baseball highest short balls ever etc is not sustainable in the long run because in a long series I may just decide to tire the hell out of them. It will have a shock and awe in the short run. Your views, what are your views, Adit?
I just I want to read one part of that question. Can you show that question again? Just
Yeah, sure.
see one thing. Highest short balls ever. Agreed. It's not sustainable in the long run. But the issue, well, it will have shock and awe in the short run. But in the long run, for them to sustain, they'll have to develop players like that. Right now, they've taken T20 players, and it's basically based on the coach. Second, the real test for baseball is not just Ashes. It is when the Englishmen come to India in January 2024 to play a 5 test match series in India and see if baseball works. If baseball works on Indian surfaces, then I might think it's not just Englishmen. I think other teams might start taking that approach. But if you ask me, for the love of cricket, I hope the team starts scoring more aggressively. I actually don't buy into that logic that you leave everything outside the off stump and then only try to work runs of the back. I don't buy that fact. You cannot expect cricket fans to sit for 30 overs in the first session of the test match and enjoy watching 60 for one. It doesn't happen, boss. Times have changed, the game has changed. So baseball is good for the game, but it's not good for England if they just do baseball with, like, one trick pony, and they will not even, like, there will be 5 or 10 over spells where you will have to calm
In fact,
down and
baseball I
hunker
think
up.
may work better on Aussie pitches than swinging English pitches.
Oh, for sure, there is going to work better. I cannot wait for this English team to go to Australia. But the problem with Aussie pitches is they bounce. So if these guys don't know how to play the bouncer, they're going to be caught.
They have to learn to avoid the short ball. Like, you don't have to hook 6 out of 6 times, right? You can duck too, right? You If they start bowling short, always remember the fast bowler cannot bowl 6 over spells of 6 bouncers.
That's what I'm
First
saying.
of all,
Yeah,
he'll be
and
called out. Second, he'll get tired. And then when he gets tired after over 3, then you can take him on.
exactly. So that is the patience, being patient in things. And is this sustainable after Joe Root and Ben Stokes? We got to see, because right now they are the glue that hold the batting order together. And that is why. And Ben Stokes is a curious character, man. He only averages 36 or 37 in test matches, but if you take the impact innings that he's played, man, that impact would probably be so much more than his batting average.
I think he has played 5 or 6 impact innings, but this shows the value of Rishabh Pant because I think per capita he has played way more impact innings than Ben Stokes ever has. And that's why हमारी हालत इतनी खराब है क्योंकि ऋषभ नहीं है.
ऋषभ नहीं, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. That actually, that is so right, so right. But overall, very entertaining Ashes.
Yeah.
I still think it might be 2-2. I wouldn't be surprised
I
if England
predicted
came.
England would win 2-1 and Australia will get close to winning one and one will be like a washed out draw. But this is clearly, I was proven wrong. So I have to put that on the record too. But now
Yeah,
let's talk
my
about the
thing,
world.
my thing was 3-2 to England, and it could happen. It could,
Oh,
because the first two matches have been so close. I mean, all you need is, if England would have
they
lost
have
the
to play
innings at like
Markwood.
more than,
They have to play Markwood. Somehow they have to
so
play
they are.
Markwood.
So yeah, so and if England wins the next test match, man, next test match cannot be a draw for England. It has to be a win, and then it'll be fun. Obviously, if it's a draw, then the best they can do is 2-2, and the Australia would have retained the Ashes. by
Yeah.
that.
So
So yeah.
now let's talk about something heartbreaking for me as a West Indies cricket fan. Let's talk about the World Cup qualifiers. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. I actually was heartbroken more for Zimbabwe. For West
So
Indies,
फाइनल रिजल्ट
unfortunately.
अभी तक के रिजल्ट्स क्या आए हैं वो तो बताओ सबको.
Okay, so the results में Sri Lanka has qualified for the World Cup. The second qualification is going to be between Netherlands and Scotland. They are going to play the game next tomorrow, and it's basically a semi-final. And
Hmm.
whoever loses is gone. It's kind of sad. I think four teams deserve to go from here: Scotland, Zimbabwe, West Indies. Sorry, not West Indies. Netherlands and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka have played excellent cricket, but Netherlands almost got close to beating Sri Lanka. And if they had beaten Sri Lanka, two runouts, there were two runouts that were not needed. I mean, who knows? Sri Lanka would have been number two right now, and Netherlands would have been at the top. So then Sri Lanka would have been in trouble, and their game would be against the West Indies. But let's look at so how the World Cup qualifiers were being played. There were two groups, and then there was a Super Six, like how it used to be in World Cups, where three teams qualified and they carried over their points. Um, well, West Indies absolutely got hammered in that. There were three teams that came from there: Zimbabwe, Netherlands, and the West Indies. And West Indies lost both to Zimbabwe, comprehensively to Zimbabwe. And this was a virtually full strength West Indies team. And then they lost to Netherlands, which was the most craziest game ever, because West Indies is scoring 374 against Netherlands. And Netherlands not only got the 374, they smashed Jason Holder for 30 runs or 20, how much ever runs it was in the super over. And then West Indies could get like 8 or 9. The problem is, why the hell would you get Jason
30
Holder to bowl the
30 रन्स की क्या क्या जेसन होल्डर को क्यों दिया उसने बॉल.
Pata nahi, when Tim David had already shown against Mumbai, when Mumbai was playing Rajasthan and smashed him for 3 sixes,
That I
they
like.
needed 18 of 6. Huh. But I'm saying ये वही bowler था. So, Zimbabwe जाके आपके चाचा जी मामा जी नहीं बन गए. It's the same bowler.
The guy
He's
clearly
just not.
cannot bowl. He
No,
cannot
he
bowl
can't bowl
such
at the depth.
overs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he should be
cannot
given
bowl the same
upfront.
in the depth. And you had so many bowlers that could have done this job. You had people like who had defended in the last over that you could have done. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So, so that bad decisions. But the fact is, you cannot have a tied game when you scored 374 against Netherlands. I don't care who you are. Like, so the West Indies bowling attack was a bit of a joke. The batting is just suspect. It hasn't been. And this, I think, they almost got disqualified of this. Or I shouldn't say disqualified. They almost couldn't qualify for the main stage in 2019. And it happened. And I think the only reason, Kushal, people like you and I are nostalgic, and I have come to the point, is because we have seen West Indies, and we used to be in awe of Curtly Ambrose, Courtney Walsh, and so forth. So I think we are still nostalgic and we are still sad about them or something.
Yeah.
To
The
me,
20 something kids don't know what it's all about.
and to me, this is a sign of things to come with the West Indies cricket, because just the West Indies
Yeah.
cricket was just in an absolute shithole. And the reason is too much to do with themselves. They were doing, all the players are in the T20 league. They are not able to perform well as a team together. And what do you think is going to happen? So it's just, they're not gelling well. The only biggest heartbreak, so West Indies, I kind of expected. I think they were on upset watch. Zimbabwe was the shocker, because this was being played in Zimbabwe and they had played fabulous cricket up to the qualifiers. Even in the qualifiers, they played well, but then they lost to Sri Lanka pretty badly by 9 wickets. And then they lost to Netherlands yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm sorry, this lost to Scotland. So great for world cricket that we are having newer teams coming in. West Indies, by the way, beat Oman today, so big whoop for that. But the ICC has to take a call that if you have so many teams that are capable of knocking over full test size, Netherlands almost knocks over Sri Lanka. Why not? Have more of them come in the World Cup. So I've been told that from the next World Cup in 2027, there's going to be 14 teams again in South Africa, Zimbabwe,
Which is
and
fair.
Namibia.
which is fair.
And out of those 14, South Africa and Zimbabwe have already qualified. uh, so there's going to be 12 teams playing. So since Zimbabwe is automatically qualified, unless and until Afghanistan plays really bad, one of Sri Lanka or West Indies might be again in the so to speak qualifier again. And speaking about Afghanistan, they're absolutely smashing Bangladesh right now as we are recording this.
Yeah.
They've bowled out Bangladesh for 100 or not bowled out. Bangladesh has been 169 for 9, and Afghanistan is 53 for no loss in 14 overs. They're going to comfortably romp home and barring a collapse.
Not only that, uh, to me, the biggest message that West Indies and their down. See, basically, they can only play T20 cricket. That's pretty much it now. They're
Yeah.
focused on T20 cricket. They don't prioritize red ball cricket or 50 over cricket. They don't care about it, it seems. And it is what it is. They're not going to qualify. But I like the idea of 14 teams in a World Cup. Let
Mhm.
these teams come up in the big stage. अभी कोई बोलेगा नहीं मगर अच्छे प्लेयर के रिकॉर्ड ब्लोट होते हैं अरे होते हैं तो होने दो इफ यू वांट टू डेवलप द गेम यू हैव टू गेट मोर एंड मोर पीपल इन द गेम मोर एंड मोर नेशंस शुड बी अलाउड टू प्ले द गेम सो I think it's fine, but yeah, it was really sad as an old West Indies cricket fan to see them suffer.
Mhm.
Uh,
It, I mean, yeah, it is a sad reality of times that they are suffering, but unfortunately I think they have hit rock bottom, and I just hope that they come up. India is playing them next. This should tell you also that
oh, by the way, on
India's
that,
series
Ajit Agarkar is appointed chairman of senior men's selection committee.
yes, which is a very good move. But again, this only makes sense if he's given the freedom to make the selectors. And maybe we do need a director of cricket. There's an excellent piece by Sabah Karim on Cricinfo about how India needs a director of cricket, because right now the selector and all, they report to the board secretary, which is an honorary position, and usually it's an appointed position or a political position or all sorts of things. Rather than that, the director of cricket can report to all the appointees, so to speak, of associations, and have the selectors and team members, team captain, all talk to a director of cricket. So you need someone that what Rob Key is for England. But who will have that? The BCCI president is a ceremonial position. You need a director of cricket basically that does the operations. I don't care. The BCCI president can decide which venue will host which game. That's fine. But how the team works, what the team needs, what squads, how it works, we do need a director of cricket.
Yeah, I don't think we have that culture. Let's get real.
Yeah, we don't.
I'm
So
just,
I
I'm
hope
just,
Ajit
I'm
Agarkar.
just stating
Yeah,
the brutal reality.
yeah.
Um, okay,
Yeah.
so
So coming, just to wrap up the qualifiers thing, I think Sri Lanka has gone through. I think between Netherlands and Scotland, it's a winner takes all. But I think Netherlands probably holds the edge in my opinion. It's a fantastic team, and whoever wins, they'll play the final on with Sri Lanka, and that will decide the Q1 and the Q2 for the next World Cup. The good news is that 2024 say the T20 World Cup is going to be 20 teams, and the ICC Cricket 50 over World Cup is going to be 14 teams, and I think that's how it should stay. I don't like this rubbish format that we have of one every team plays everything. It's too long. This never happens anywhere in the world where you play each and every team in the World Cup. 49, 45 days. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, do you not expect people to have a life that they'll come for 40? Like, there are people in the world, when the FIFA World Cup is coming, they'll take a month off and go and watch all the games, their country's games and the finals and so forth, and they'll follow the countries. It's not humanly possible for people to go for 45 days, 50 days. People have jobs. And if you want Indian fans to travel, India has been lucky that we have expats and we have fans across the country, across the world, to do that. But you need to give them a good sort of schedule. And I'm not just saying Indian fans, I'm saying make the World Cup exclusive, have double headers, teams play lesser games if that's the thing. But it has to end in 30 to 35 days. This one and a half
BCCI
month.
doesn't
So
care about the World Cup. I'm
it's not
being
even BCCI. I think it's the ICC. I think even before BCCI made this
BCCI
significant
only cares
thing.
about one thing today, IPL.
Yeah. अब वो
That's
भी
all they
ढाई
care
महीने
about.
कर दिए. That's
Hmm.
also 2.5 months. If you are going to make IPL into a 3-month thing, you can't play every day.
They
There
care
has to be a
about the
break.
T20 World Cup. See, I should correct myself. They only care about the T20 format. The one day format, nobody cares about, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, so then get rid of it, or have the World Cup in a way where you have it so short and sweet that people crave for it. I'm telling you, I guarantee you, I can predict this, that in this World Cup, beyond the time, people are going to get bored, because when you have such a long World Cup, it's just not possible for people to keep their attention for 45 days,
हाँ,
for 8 hours a
इंडिया
day.
में तो इंडिया में तो स्टेडियम फुल हो जाएंगे क्योंकि लोगों को क्रिकेट देखने जाने को बहुत मजा आता है. बट लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंस
नहीं,
एंड इट्स
इंडिया में सारी गेम्स के नहीं होने वाले. इंडिया में
या
सिर्फ इंडिया की गेम्स के लिए होने वाले. फॉर द अदर गेम्स, एंड दे आर ओनली हैविंग 6 डबल हेडर्स. They are only having double headers on Saturday. They're not even having double headers on Sunday or some day, middle day of the week. Like when there is public holidays, at least have double headers there. Like, I mean, I just don't understand what the logic is. But and then everyone will tell me, oh, last World Cup was also 45 days. Well, if there was a mistake made for 45 days, are you going to continue making the same mistake?
we'll repeat the same mistake. That's what we
Yeah,
do.
so it's just silly. And you can have about 3 days rest period between two one-day games in bilateral series. That does happen. So I don't buy that logic at all, that each team needs 5 days. Between that, 2 or 3 days is fine. So that alone can give you a chance of finishing the tournament in 32 to 33 days. But who are we yeah, who are we talking? The ICC is not going to change.
Nobody changes. So someone asked, "Are you and Adit planning to watch the India versus West Indies?" I would have, but I have a talk
Yeah,
in
Kushal
the
ne
same
daga de
time.
diya.
Yeah, I would have actually. मैंने दगा दे दिया. I have a talk in Ottawa, so I can't go unfortunately. So
Yeah, I
I will
may,
see.
if I do go, I'll do we'll do some live bit or something, like a from the stadium, like a 20 minute. I'll try to talk to some fans and see what they think and stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
I will let our folks know in a week or so if I'm planning to go.
Okay. So somebody has said, what is worse, Englishmen not being able to play swing or Aussies short ball? Their batsmen cannot duck anymore. Then this is the same person. He said, yes, Joe Root is the GOAT on current form. Can leggies be successful in England? Have you seen Shane Warne?
Yeah, or Anil Kumble. I think in
Yeah.
2002 and 2007 he was
Yeah.
also. I think no. I think leggies can be more successful in England than off spinners, because of the
What was that Shane Warne used to say? If the ball swings, it's gonna spin. It's very simple for
it's
him.
going to spin, yeah, something like that. And also, I think Naman, his question was, with Mitchell Stark, being bowling and creating rough, leg spinners are even more effective, because you can bowl outside. People think that only off spinners can bowl into the rough. Please talk to Shane Warne. I am not saying each leg spinner is Shane Warne, but leg spinners into the rough are very dangerous.
और मैंने तुझे बोला था बोलेंड पिटेगा.
Yeah. Oh, you are
बोलेंड पिटा.
absolutely right. Now no one
बोलेंड
is even
पिटा.
talking about Scott Boland anymore.
Scott Boland pitega. Bass ball. All you have to do. And I remember somebody had laughed at me when I had said Scott Boland pitega. कैरी अब तो स्टंप्स आएगा. और तभी मुझे याद नहीं, कोई तो था लाइव स्ट्रीम बोलता है या कैरी आएगा. और कैरी आया अब द स्टंप्स to control them batting out of the crease and hitting Scott Boland. Guess what? They still hit him. Scott Boland can only bowl in certain ways where the batsmen are going to play him conventionally. He's a length bowler. वो एक ही length पे डालता रहता है, and the man has no short ball.
He has no short ball. He absolutely doesn't. और वो उसकी स्पीड पे डाल भी नहीं सकता ना. क्या डालेगा शॉर्ट बॉल वो? मतलब how is he going to bowl short ball at the speeds which मतलब वो he's like dibbly dobbly medium pace.
Yes.
He's like Praveen Kumar, right? Praveen Kumar works when the ball is swinging, but Praveen Kumar को कभी bouncers डालते देखा है? I mean,
yeah. And see, Mitchell Stark went for runs, but he picked up wickets because he has that
Because
extra pace. He can bowl a short
extra
ball, a
pace.
yorker, everything.
And let's talk about Mitchell Stark and Pat Cummins in the second innings when they reduced England from 45 for 4. Man, the
Yeah.
ball was swinging, and how. So for Stokes to play and Duckett to play the way they did.
Ollie Pope का
from
क्या wicket लिया उसने?
So, but actually उसमें some लोग commentators को गाली देते हैं ना. So let's praise the commentators once. The coverage on Sky Sports, I don't know. Well, Kushal's on this side of the planet, so he gets the same coverage I do. I don't know in India if everyone's getting the same Sky Sports coverage.
Same.
The
Sky.
The commentary team is exceptional. So they did, Mark Taylor or Ricky Ponting or someone did analysis how when Ollie Pope is batting, because his head is not still, he fell over when the ball is swinging. Mitchell Stark bowls a similar ball to Joe Root, his head stays still, he plays properly, and they were showing the difference. Man, I miss that. There was periods of silence. Commentators didn't feel like they have to fill every moment with words that make no sense at all.
Absolutely.
And it was just outstanding. The commentary team has been very good. Dinesh Karthik, I think, hasn't joined yet, but he's going to join the commentary team as well. And the fact is, they have neutral commentators. They got Kumar Sangakkara. They got who else? They have one or two neutral voices coming in as well. So it's not just English in Australia. Kevin Peterson, I'm on the fence about if he's good or bad. I'm still not. But one thing with Kevin Peterson is he gives it back and he speaks passionately. So that when he absolutely lit into the English team, it was good to see a commentator actually giving it back on a broadcast. Things that Indian cricket fans can only dream about.
He's doing the
That
role
the
of
Indian
Jeffrey Boycott.
he is absolutely, he is, and he can get away with it. And my point is, I things like this Indian commentators can only dream of. Hamare to sab mahan, Sharma ji mahan, Kohli ji mahan. No one ever criticizes them. So क्या कर
मगर अभी
सकते हैं?
आजकल सब क्रिटिसाइज कर रहे हैं. I don't know if you saw that
नहीं, I don't
recent
see
interview
if
of
Sunny
Ravi
Gavaskar,
Shastri.
Ravi Shastri, I would take seriously, because Sunny Gavaskar can criticize because he's at a point where he's not. He doesn't give a damn. So I love Sunny Bhai's candor. He's back to his old self, and if he gives this, because he's been around for a while, and he's like, a job jaye to jaye, I don't care. I'm going to give it back. When he got mad at the Star Sports commentator for asking how did he get out, he's like, ask Virat Kohli why did he play that shot.
So Ravi Shastri was interviewed by The Week a
Huh.
while ago. I saw this interview. I would recommend all of you to go and check it out. I think it was published 11 days ago.
Hmm.
He was interviewed. It's a 30-minute interview. I would recommend everyone to go and watch the whole interview by The
Hmm.
Week.
Hmm.
If
By the
I'll
way.
wait, I will put the link in the live stream, and I'll also put it on the
Hmm.
screen. Sorry, screen बोल दिया मैंने. क्या बोल रहा
Hmm.
हूँ? So this is the link. People can go and watch it. Very good interview, very candid. Ravi Shastri shared a lot of things about the future, how we should go about it. Do we have a red ball problem? Do we have a white ball problem? What can we do
Hmm.
to fix it? I think he was amazing. He was very, very sensible.
Hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, Ravi can do that commentary. Ravi can absolutely give that. I mean, there was a reason why we all loved the Star Sports coverage of 2001, 2002, 2003. It was Ravi, Jeffrey Boycott. They were all in their top form. This is just unbelievable. That the fall from grace that happens. And that time, Ravi, Sunny Gavaskar, Harsha Bhogle were not doing India home games. They were only doing India away games. And the home game commentary was the BCCI commentary feed. So unfortunately, since 2013-14, they've been co-opted, and barring Harsha, and I don't think a lot of them have been able to keep that freelance mindset. Harsha has been quite open and with this criticism as well. So I can hope that
Harsha
the
is just
Sky
a very
Sports.
civilized guy, right? Harsha says things in a very civilized way. He's always
No, but
been
that's
like that.
fine. But he's at least speaking his mind, and he's at least giving it back in terms of that.
Yeah,
I cannot.
I'm not saying this as a negative or thing about Harsha. I think he's
Huh,
just a fantastic guy. The way he speaks, the way he presents and articulates himself.
yeah.
I
So
wish many could learn from him.
and I don't watch Hindi commentary, so our viewers can tell me how good or bad the Hindi commentary is. But I
Look,
tried
I
to
think
watch it a couple of times, and it was bad.
आकाश चोपड़ा के एनालिसिस से हर टाइम एग्री करने की जरूरत नहीं, मगर आई थिंक आकाश इज आल्सो वेरी गुड इन हिज क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ द इंडियन टीम. आई थिंक आकाश's fight with Venkatesh Prasad was uncalled for. I think Venkatesh Prasad also shares his views very well. And
Hmm.
let's have this as the last discussion.
Hmm.
What the hell, should we stop the Ranji Trophy now, Adit? क्योंकि clearly Ranji Trophy performance does not count as the yardstick to get into the test team.
No, we should call Ranji IPL now. Ranji.
क्या हो रहा है? Why is Sarfraz? They say Sarfraz has an attitude problem. Maybe he does. Vinod Kambli had an attitude problem. The point is, Vinod Kambli was scoring runs on the field. That's all should matter. क्या बकवास है
No,
यार?
no.
Why is
As
Sarfaraz
as
not
opposed to
selected?
no, no, as opposed to a lot of current players who don't have an attitude problem in our Indian team. So
Yeah.
that's very interesting. There are a fair few I can name with attitude problems. The fact is, Sarfaraz, I mean, even if he's not selected in the playing 11, he should have been a part of the 16, right? There seems to be some weird sort of situation going on. Second, I don't buy this thing about fitness. um is he fit enough to play? Is he fit enough to last the 5 days? That's your question. I agree that fitness is an issue. England was a great example where they defended 282 runs and stuff like that. But then the selectors got to be transparent. They have to say publicly. So if when Ajit, I hope Ajit Agarkar brings that transparency, comes and says that, boss, Sarfraz needs to score this much on the yo-yo test, or needs to get hit certain levels of fitness in terms of endurance, stamina, fielding, to come into the Indian team. You can't just say that he's one of the best players and stuff. They're saying he has an issue with the short ball or something, right? Throw him in the nets, get him as a net batsman, and let him play fast bowlers. The fact is are right now, the given the struggles of the Indian test team, and if we're preparing for the future, you do need people like Sarfaraz Khan. And I say like Sarfaraz Khan, there are many other people in the Ranji Trophy. And you're right. If their Ranji Trophy performances are not going to count for anything, A, either prepare competitive wickets in the Ranji Trophy, or B, just don't hold the Ranji Trophy or don't care about it. Because this is quite ridiculous right now. What is happening?
Okay, is Sarfraz the new Amol Mujumdar?
No, I think Sarfaraz is Amol Muzumdar was also at a very different time for Indian cricket. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, it was virtually impossible for anyone to get into the middle order, Indian middle order. I mean, if you just think about it, um, right now, our Indian middle order is a bit of a joke. It's as frail and as in need of support as it gets. Ajinkya Rahane doesn't even get picked for a year, gets picked for this test match, and now is the vice captain for the West Indies series. Cheteshwar Pujara gets a. Pata, you asked me that question.
I'm
If
so pissed that
cricket
Pujara was dropped. I'm so irritated
yeah,
about that, but
but
it's
I,
okay.
I predicted on this podcast that Pujara is going to be made the scapegoat, because unfortunately his dropping doesn't piss enough people off. It pisses people like you and me off. It doesn't.
Yeah, only you
We are
and
not.
me and Nikhil Mehra get pissed off at Pujara being dropped.
We are not Pujarians like the
Yeah.
Ians on social media of
Yeah.
certain players, right? That come and abuse you if you drop that play, and that's the sad part. If the Trevor Horns, the Australian cricketer, I think dropped Ian Healy when Ian Healy requested to play one extra test match in at his Gabba. He said, "No, that's it. You're done. Gilchrist is ready." That is the level. If and that's why Australia was what it was. Australia ka aggression ऐसे नहीं आया, because Steve Waugh's captaincy, he dropped his own brother. Mark Waugh was dropped out of the team. Right?
Hmm.
Yeah, Virat Kohli cannot be even be dropped by Rohit Sharma. Right? Have you ever seen Australians saying that, "अरे Mark Waugh तो कितने legendary player है, उनको ऐसे ही drop कर दिया," right? And things like that. No, if you're not very good, you get dropped off. James Anderson is
No,
rested.
it only applies to Ravichandran Ashwin.
Yeah, it only, because again, it only applies to players who cannot cause enough damage, or you can't whine about it on Instagram or social media and so forth. And that's the bit of a joke that's become. So I hope Ajit Agarkar fixes it. And the fact is, that's why I'm disappointed in Rahul Dravid, because I thought he would get rid of this culture. But if Rahul Dravid is not able to play Mr. Grumpy in the dressing room, then it's a bit of a problem. Big problem.
Yeah. And on that somber note, we'll end today's podcast. So, guys, please go
By
and
the way,
follow
India
Aadit.
India wins against West Indies 2-0. I'll just, since we are also supposed to talk about that series, India will win 2-0.
Yeah,
Just
I think we'll
FYI.
win 2-0. They should.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, मतलब
अगर
धूम
नहीं
मचना चाहिए
अगर
था.
नहीं जीतेंगे तो स्पेशल लंबा पॉडकास्ट करेंगे
हाँ,
कि
बहुत
क्या हम
बहुत
लोग
बड़ा
इतने बुरे
करना
हैं
पड़ेगा. हाँ.
क्या?
So yeah, so it is what it is, guys. So go follow Adit on
Yeah.
social media and subscribe to the Mind YouTube channel. And you know the drill with me. Please support the Cārvāka podcast. This is a member-driven podcast, guys. So if you can, please become a member on YouTube or Patreon or Fanvo. You can also buy the Cārvāka podcast merch, something like this that you are seeing on the screen. Go to kushalmehra.com and click the shop button, and you can buy the podcast, and or you can go on Kadak Merch and place your orders over Kadak Merch too. You can send your donations to UPI also. If you can do none of these things, the least you can do is subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment in the comment section. I will see you guys next time with another discussion. Until then, namaste, take care, see ya, bye.